Alright, here's the Survivor 50 crash course. Let me know if you want to know more about other people. I'm going to try to go quick. Alright, so starting off, we're going to be going through the everybody in chronological order from when they first played, and the people who played those first seven played before season 34, which was the last returning player season aside from Winners at War. So they've played multiple times. It's going to take longer to go through them. So if it's taking a while, just know it's going to go quicker once I get to most of the cast that's only played once. So first up is Jenna, the OG. She was on season one of Survivor back in 2000, Borneo. And that is the reason why she's on this cast. She is not the most memorable person from back in the day, but she, played well. She made it to merge her first season. And then she was known for really wanting to play the game when the other people in the first season didn't really understand that it was a game yet. They were kind of just there to survive on the island. She was trying to play hard, but goes out in the merge. She comes back for All Stars and plays really hard. I don't know how well she did, but she played hard, and she made it to third. Um, and she's known for kind of being overshadowed that season by Rob and Amber and other bigger All Stars. But she's ready to come back and prove herself. Um, I took some pictures here. First one is just her on her first season, and then I thought this other one was good because it shows like she's kind of hidden behind the idol with Rob and Amber in front of her, were like the main characters of that season. So it shows she was kind of overshadowed. She's ready to come back and prove that she's a big player. Pros for her is that nobody really remembers how she plays because it was so long ago, so she could do whatever. And she's going to be underestimated in general because people are going to think, oh, she doesn't know how to do the new era. I mean, she hasn't even played with idols yet. Idols hadn't been introduced when she played last. The cons of picking her is that can she handle the new era gameplay? She's definitely kept up with the show, but watching it and playing it are two different things. Colby, the hero. He is here because he was the original protagonist of the most watched season of all time, season 2, Australian Outback. He's Dad's favorite, aside from Boston Rob. And he's one of the most infamous people to ever play the show. Um, so yeah, he went all the way on season 2 to second place. Could have won the game if he took somebody who he could have beaten, but he took his best friend instead, and his best friend won. So he's known for being honorable. He also set the immunity record his first season with 5 immunity wins. It's stuck to this day. Nobody's gotten more than 5 immunity wins in one season. But he's also known for, since then, having diminishing returns on his following seasons. He came back for All Stars, kind of went out early because he was a big threat, and then he came back a decade after he first played in Heroes vs. Villains because he was the hero of the show. And he hadn't kept up with the show. He hadn't watched it. He didn't know who the people in this season were, and he didn't really understand the game. Like the game was barely anything in season 2, and in season 20 it was a whole different ball game, and he didn't know how to play because he hadn't been watching. And he was very much outclassed. The only thing he could do was play challenges, but he was not good in challenges anymore because he was a decade older, and it was a rough showing. That's why he's back. He wants to come back and wrap up his story in a more complete way than he did on season 20 and like have people remember him better. Two pictures. Left one is when he lost to his best friend. See how happy it was, and then look how sad and defeated he looks on the right during his season 20 run. The pro for Colby coming in is that everybody remembers him being an absolute flop on Heroes vs. Villains, so they're going to underestimate him strategically. If he can come in and play a different game, that's going to be good for him. The con is, like with Jenna, can he do that? It's been forever since he played, and he has not been playing like a whole bunch of other stuff either, so can he keep up with new era gameplay? We'll have to see. Next up, we have Stephanie, the last woman standing. She is known for being the only person in the history of Survivor to be on a tribe of one. Her first season, season 10, Palau, she was on the tribe that lost every single immunity challenge, 8 in a row, and she was the last person to survive that tribe. She's known for being the ultimate underdog because she wasn't even the person who was supposed to survive that tribe, and then she was there by herself. She goes on to the next tribe and survives a little bit further that way. And ever since then, she's been one of the biggest female heroes of all time, so much so that she came back for Heroes vs. Villains too. On her second season, season 11, when she didn't lose every challenge, she did really well. Like, she made it all the way to the end, but when she's not the underdog, people didn't love her gameplay, people didn't love her. So she ended up not getting the votes of the people on the cast because they didn't like how direct she was and how, aggressive and competitive she was. But she's always going to be remembered for her first season as being the last woman standing, and that's why she's on this season. This is her on the left being the last person at her tribal, and then her on the right going back to her camp and having to survive for at least a day, maybe two, maybe three by herself, and she's going through it emotionally, showing how much she's like persevered to get here. Pro for her is that unlike Jenna and Colby, who haven't been on reality TV in forever, she's recently made a comeback. She did Snake in the Grass and Traitors recently, both with Sari, who's going to be the next person I talk about. And so she's kind of gotten her feet wet. I don't think she's going to be having as much of a hard time adapting to like the new era because she's been on reality TV recently. The con is she says she wants to play an honest and moral game, something that her kids can be proud of. And not that that's there's something wrong with that, but I think on season 50 to have that kind of like honor and integrity mindset, I don't know how well that's going to do for you. I don't know if a jury is going to want to reward that with the win. So we'll see if she can still get that. Next up, I'm going to have to talk a little bit longer for my girl, Suri, the best to never win Survivor. She is here because she is the biggest name on this season, one of the biggest names in the history of the show. She's known by Jeff as the woman who got off the couch because she was just watching Survivor and she was like, I don't do camping, I don't do outdoors, but could I go out there and do it? And she did, and Jeff loved that. And then she went from this relatable person that everybody at home could see themselves in to one of the biggest strategists in the history of the show. She did the 3-2-1 vote on her first season, where she was able to take control of the whole tribe, and instead of having a majority, she convinced the minority to split their votes, and she only got the majority through with only 3, which was the first time it had ever been done. And she's most well known for being one of the leaders of the Black Widow Brigade, the all-female alliance on season 16, Fans vs. Favorites, when they convinced the last guy standing, who's won multiple immunities in a row, to give up his immunity necklace and then vote him out so that they could go to the end together. You should go watch it. It is the most infamous moment in Survivor history. There's clips of it on YouTube. Go do it. And she's also known for being screwed over. So she's been on 5 seasons, 4 seasons US, and then she also just recently went on Australia versus the World. She's also been on Traitors season 1, where she was the traitor to win this season, and she also had a long time on Big Brother as well, where she got 5th on a most recent season. Here's her with the Black Widow Brigade. Top left picture is him giving up the necklace, and then it's her on the right doing one of the most iconic moments, not lines in the show's history, where she says, "You can't always beat him with this," which she points to her muscle, but you can always beat him with this, and she points to her head. So funny. And then it's all the girls in the bottom left smiling at the fact that they just did something so iconic. She's great. Why Sari is the unluckiest Survivor player in history is because she has played, if you include Australia versus the World, Survivor 5 separate times. She's made deep runs on 4 of them. Look at this: 4th, 3rd, 6th, 4th. But she's never made Final Tribal, and every single time she goes out, she's never voted out by a majority vote. First season, she loses in fire making. Second season, this is the biggest one, the biggest heartbreaker. This is the one where the picture on the right is her. She would have won the season. She made it all the way to the final 3 with her 2 biggest allies. She was going to win. They all thought it was a 3. They were preparing to go to Tribal. And then because there were so many medevacs and quits that season, they had the schedule all thrown out of whack. And so then there was a surprise final 2. And she gets voted out in 3rd place when she would have won the season. Tearjerker. Comes back for Heroes versus Villains as a huge hero. Goes home early, but she's idled out. She still wasn't voted out by the majority. Then she comes back many years later for Game Changers, and Advantage Get It happens, which I have to explain. There's 6 people left. 1 person has the immunity necklace. 3 people have idols, and then another person has a different twist that keeps them safe only at the final 6. And they all play them. And even though no votes were for Sari, after they all played their quote-unquote immunity, they were safe, and they didn't have to revote because she was the only person eligible to be voted for on the revote. Absolute tearjerker. She was running that season 2, and then she gets taken out by the stupidest twist again. Comes back after many years off. Last year, Australia versus the World, her against the biggest players all internationally, controls the game again, makes it to 4, and then loses in fire again. 5 times, 4 deep runs where she could have won, 1 run where she literally would have won if not for a production twist. Never been voted out by the majority. She's an icon. I will be rooting for her, but you can choose your favorites. Pros for her is if she makes Final 3, she 100% wins. Cons are everybody who's playing the season knows that. Everybody knows she's the biggest name coming in here in terms of the Survivor world. She's the biggest name. And are they going to let her get to Final Three and finally pitch her case to the jury? I don't know about that. We'll have to see. Next up, we have Ozzy, the Challenge Beast. He is known for being the best challenge performer in the history of the show. On his first season out, Cook Islands, his alliance was coming into the final 12 6-6. But then there was a weird twist where if you wanted to switch the other alliance, the other tribe, you could. And the two people switched from his tribe of 6 to the other tribe of 6, so that his tribe was down 8-4. And he didn't know what to do. The rest of his tribe didn't know what to do. They went on to win challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge as a group tribe so that they could whittle down the other tribe. And then they merged at the final 9. And then when they merged at the final 9, there was only 6 more vote outs before the final 3, and he won 5 immunities out of 6, tying Colby's record. And it's more impressive because he only had 6 rounds to do it. Colby had like 8 or something. He won 5 out of 6 immunities. Absolute challenge beast, team and individual. He comes back for Fans First Favorites, has the infamous moment where he finds an idol, but then he plants a fake idol with a face on it for somebody else to find when they go there for looking for the idol. Somebody else finds it and gives it to their friend, and they're like, that's not an idol, that's a fucking stick. Just another big moment that he caused. He comes back again for South Pacific, and this is a season with Redemption Island, which means once you're voted out, you can battle your way back. And he gets voted out 3 times on that season. 2 times he gets voted out, and then he wins his way back with Redemption Island. The only person to come back from Redemption Island. He does it twice. Makes it all the way to the top 4 after winning multiple challenges and immunities as well, and loses the very last immunity challenge so that he gets voted out in 4th place and doesn't go on to win the season. He definitely would have if he had made it to Final Tribal. Tearjerker. And that's what he's just known for. 2 seasons where the first season where he was in the minority group that he won his way there with challenges, he lost by 1 vote in the final tribal. And another season he would have won if he made it to the end. Just known for his challenge performances. This is him just being really good. Oh, he's also like the jungle boy, the dolphin boy is what they call him, because he's great in the water. He's a big provider in the jungle. This is him in the water on the left and him getting crowned Unity on the right. Pros for him is that he will be kept around probably in the early portion because he's good in challenges. Con is he's a lot older now than he was beforehand, and he's not in his prime, and his gameplay has always been challenge centered. I don't know how well he's going to do when he's not going to be as successful in challenges, I assume, so we'll have to see what his gameplay brings with that. Next we have Benjamin Wade, who calls himself Coach. He is the Dragon Slayer, and he's known for being one of Survivor's biggest characters of all time. In his very first season, he's called a jackass by his tribe members for being so pretentious, talking about his near-death experiences, talking about how, oh, well, I coach women's soccer and I'm the best guy of all time, talking about how he's the conductor for the orchestra at the Philharmonic in whatever state he was in, saying, oh, well, I do this and I do this and I do this. Just imagine the most pretentious person, but they think they're serious and they just come off so silly, but they don't realize it. He nicknames himself the Dragon Slayer because he's going to slay all the dragons out there. And then in between giving himself that nickname, he's like giving quotes out that he doesn't actually know 100%, but he memorized quotes before going out there so that he could like come off as more poetic. He's just, spitting off quotes while saying, I'm gonna, karma's gonna bring me about to get this guy in the back, and I'm gonna play with honor and integrity and all that. And because he's so fun with the nicknames, he's remembered as being a character, but he's also remembered for playing hypocritically because he always says he wants to have honor and integrity, and then he doesn't play with honor and integrity, and he claims that he does. That's how he loses his 3rd season, South Pacific. He makes it all the way to the end after dominating the season with religion, with a cult. He completely convinces his group of people to not turn on each other because it's what's the Christian way, and then has to turn on them because there was a group of 6 and only 3 of them could make it to Final Tribal, and he turns on his people but still says he has honor and integrity. People don't like that he can't own up to his game and he doesn't get the votes. This is him on his first season when he was the biggest character moments on the left at the family visit. everybody else brings out their mom or their loved one or something, their significant other, and he brings in the assistant coach for the women's soccer team that he coaches in college. And then while everybody else is like crying and hugging, they're like doing warm ups on the side. It's just so weird. And he gets mad if you don't call him coach, by the way. And then on the right, it's him just like everybody else is out on the island just living, but he's pretending like he's having some spiritual moment when he's not doing anything different than everybody else. It's just a lot of weird stuff. The pros for him is that he's out of these biggest names. The biggest names from Survivor on here is Colby, Cirie, Ozzy, and Coach. It's not close. It's those four the biggest. Um, Out of those four, he's by far the least intimidating, and so everybody's gonna work with him because, oh, he's fun to work with. They want to work with the legend who's not like the biggest strategic mastermind, and they want to get a fun nickname like the Dragon Slayer. The con is I don't know if he's going to be able to learn from his past mistakes of owning up to his gameplay. If people work with him and then he cuts them, is he going to be able to say that he cut them, or is he going to say, well, I did the honorable and integrity thing to not cut them? You know what I mean. Now we have Aubrey, the Robbed Goddess, Nerd Edition. She is on this season because she played one of the best games ever that lost. There are three big moments in Survivor where somebody who should have won was like hugely contested by the audience, thinking that the loser should have been the winner, and it was Boston Rob losing to Amber on All Stars, Russell losing to Natalie on Samoa, and it was Aubrey losing to Michelle on season 32, Co Wrong. She controlled the whole game from start to finish, and she dealt with her two number one allies both getting medevaced from the season, and it was a really impressive game. But the guys on this season were like they had very small minds. They had huge egos, but they were fragile, and they couldn't really own up to the fact that she played them. So they voted for this other girl who didn't backstab them, and it's very controversial. She comes back two more times, and each time, kind of like with Colby, they're diminishing returns. She makes game changers. She makes it all the way to fifth place, but she is not in control of anything. She's just trying to survive because she's such a big threat. And then she comes back for Edge of Extinction, and is just the first time that she can get voted out, gets voted out, and does really badly. She's back here because she's still remembered as one of the best losers in the history of the show. This is her losing on the left, and then her getting voted out early on the right. Um, Pros for her is that after her last showing, she is not viewed as the huge threat as she was beforehand. So I think she really could, go back to her roots and play a really strong game. Cons are she's on the starting tribe with Q who just played 2 years ago, and he had a whole segment about how there was another person on the season who said their favorite player was Aubrey, and he said, oh, she's a nerd, she's really smart, oh, we're gonna have to get rid of her because she's like Aubrey. And so clearly her and Q are gonna go at it on the starting tribe. I don't know which one of them's gonna come out, but that spells trouble. Next we have Chrissy, Robbed Goddess Badass Mom Edition. Season 35, 2017, she was second place. She is known for two things. One, she tied the women's immunity record at 45 years of age. Everybody else who was doing it was like young and in their prime. She was a mom, and she went out there and she won 4 immunities. It was a big deal. Good for her. She's also known for the fact that the person she wanted to get out the whole season kept finding idols. He played an idol at Final 7, Final 6, and Final 5, and he would have gone home in each of those had he not. Final 4, he was finally going to go home because Chrissy won immunity and they were going to vote him out, and she was probably going to go on to win the season when the very first iteration of the forced Final 4 fire making twist came in. As you know, Jen, last time, the season you just watched, they were forced to play fire at Final 4. They had not known this was going to happen. She finds out, and it's a huge, huge surprise to her, and the guy that she was targeting ends up going on to win fire and win the season, and so people say, wow, they threw in this fire making twist just to give that guy the win, and she got screwed over. This is her dominating challenges on the left, and this is her on the right reading the letter where she finds out that Ben isn't out of the game yet, that he still has a chance to make fire and go to the final 3 with her. Obviously, she's upset. The pro for her is that she is very in this weird spot where she's not old school, but she's not new school. She's definitely in the middle, and I think she could bridge the gap between them very well. I think she's one of the few people who could really play both sides and, not be the biggest threat to anybody. Con for her is that she is the oldest person on this season, and it's always harder to play when you were the oldest. There are a lot of people similar in age to her, but still, it's harder when you're not in the average age of the season. Next, we have Christian, the lovable underdog. He was on season 37, David vs. Goliath, and placed 7th. He is known for being one of the most universally well liked Survivor contestants in a long time. He was on the David tribe, and he was the David of the Davids. He was just like really like nerdy looking and really skinny looking, and people didn't think much of him. But then he came out there and he won the first challenge because he was so great at puzzles, and he's just so charming when you go to talk to him. Um, so charming to the fact that everybody wanted to target him, and he survived because he would win challenges, or he would, you know, play an idol, and he made it much farther than he thought he would have. He's remembered for just being so kind and such a good heart. Um, on the left, this is him at a challenge that lasted hours. Him and another guy who was like in like the most best physical condition you can think of. They were doing an endurance challenge, and he was trying to win because he wanted to cross it off his bucket list that he could win a challenge. And in order to get through the pain, he started talking to Jeff for hours about rocket science because that's all he could do to like get over the pain. He ends up winning the challenge, and it's a big deal. And on the right, it's him hugging his one of his allies when she's going through an emotional moment, and he's just there to emotionally support her. Just a good guy. Pros is last season he was the David of the Davids. He was the clear biggest threat to win, and so he just had little runway because he was so visibly smart and charming that he couldn't hide amongst a bunch of like one-time players who weren't as big of threats as him. Now there's gonna be threats everywhere. He could definitely find a place to hide. Cons are he's still very visibly smart and charming, and I don't know if people are going to be able to like trust him when they know that he could be doing anything because he's great at the game. And another con is he's one of 3 people on David vs. Goliath. There are 3 seasons that have 3 representatives on this season. Season 37, David vs. Goliath, 46, and 48. And I think those people are going to have a hard time because nobody wants all 3 of them to make the merge. So they're probably going to be targeted if, you know, all 3 of them are still there after a few votes. That hopefully he can get through that. Next, we have Angelina. She's from the same season as him, and she was the 0 vote finalist, 3rd place. She is known for being a delusional queen. She thought she was running the show, and she absolutely was not. 2 biggest moments for her being Delulu is, Natalie, is there any way I could have your jacket? When she just voted somebody out of the game, and then on her way, before she can even get her torch snuffed, she's asking her to do her a favor and give her the jacket. And also when she started this whole thing with Jeff where in the new era he talks with contestants about negotiating for rice, and she was the first one to do it. Jeff never brought it up. On this season she was like, we're low on rice, we need to go into the challenge and get Jeff to give us more rice, and she tries to negotiate with him because she's like, I work in corporate, I know how to be somebody who can negotiate with Jeff. I actually took a college class about negotiation, I know I can get him to give me rice. She absolutely could not do it. But that's her mindset. This is her with this is one of the most infamous comedic moments in the history of the show, where after she votes out Natalie on the right, she goes to hug her, pretends that she didn't, pretends like, oh, I didn't know you were going home, and then Natalie's getting up, and before she can even make it to Jeff, she asks her, Natalie, can I have your jacket? And it's just so out of touch with like the fact that her dreams just got crushed, Natalie, and now she's like asking for you to do her a favor. Everybody behind her is obviously down here laughing at her for how absurd it is. And yeah, also watch this on YouTube. It's just a fun time. Pros for her is that she's remembered for being delusional, but she is really smart. She's just not self-aware. And if she can come in this time and be more self-aware, like people are going to underestimate her because they think she isn't smart, but she could play the game if she just has more awareness. The cons are she's coming in known for being delusional, and so on a season like 50, it's going to be really hard for her to play a game and find a final 3 where people want to give her the win because she's coming in with like not the greatest reputation. And also 3 people from David vs. Goliath, that's a target. Next we have Mike White, the White Lotus, also on David vs. Goliath with them. He was the runner-up, 2nd place, and he is known for being an actual celebrity. I said that those other people earlier were the biggest names in the Survivor world. He's the biggest name, period, on this season. When he played on David vs. Goliath, he was in Hollywood. He was most known for his work on School of Rock with Jack Black. And he wasn't the biggest name, but he was there. And because he was in Hollywood, he was friends with Jeff. And he talked to Jeff about advice that he should be doing on different seasons of Survivor, and he never thought he could do it because he didn't have time in Hollywood, but then he found time on David vs. Goliath, went out there, had a good time. But then during COVID, he got a new project, The White Lotus, up, and it's now one of the biggest TV shows, like, on TV right now. He's the creator, producer, director, writer for it, and so he's like a full out celebrity now. In his speech, in his Emmy speech for The White Lotus, he shouts out his time on Survivor because he's just such a super fan for Survivor. Yeah, so he's a big deal. He's also known for kind of giving up at Final Tribal because I think he played the best game this season, but he was a Goliath and he was up against a David who would go on to win. And two things, he felt bad for the fact that he had money and this David didn't. So he was a big Hollywood exec. He felt bad about taking the money, but also he's a show creator. He's a big super fan of Survivor. He didn't need the money, so he was kind of like, well, it'd make a better season if a David won rather than a Goliath. So he kind of gave up a little bit at Final Tribal. This is him with Angelina in the top left, the girl I just talked about. They're friends, and she got a cameo on White Lotus. This other girl next to her was also on the season. And then Natalie, the girl that she asked the jacket for in the bottom right, that's a different scene. All of these people who were on his season got cameos in the White Lotus. This is him winning an Emmy, and then him, most infamous moment is when he's just drinking wine at a reward and watching everybody go cuckoo, and he's just enjoying it. Like, again, like the fan of Survivor that he is. He's just like a good time just sitting back, getting drunk, enjoying the show. Pros for him is that everybody's going to want to work with him because they want to get a cameo on The White Lotus, the hit show that's on TV right now. So I think a lot of people are going to be barking up his door to work with him. Cons are, like with his last season, he's rich. People might not want to give him the money, and he is kind of coming in here not really playing for the win. He wants to play to make it a good season, and so that's a con if you're thinking of him as a winner pick. And also, he's three people from David vs. Goliath, so we'll see if he can mask that target as well. Next, we have Rick, the Immunity King from Season 38, Edge of Extinction. Rick is known for going on a huge immunity kick from Final 10 to Final 4. He won 4 immunity necklaces, and then the 2 rounds where he didn't have immunity, he played an idol, and he made it all the way to the Final 4 that way. And this is after, on the Edge of Extinction, there was a twist where, kind of like with Ozzy's season, where you could battle your way back. That's what it was. He was actually voted out like 4th on the season, and he was kind of a nothing burger until then. But then he battled his way back to come back at the merge, and he said, I have to play balls to the wall, be a big character, and he absolutely was. And after playing so hard, so much, with 6 rounds of immunity back to back to back, at the Final 4, the winner of the Final 4 immunity had to put 2 people into fire, and Rick was happy because the 2 other people who could be in fire were people he knew he could beat in fire. So he was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make it to Final 3. And the winner knew that Rick was the best out of the other 3 people at fire, so the winner said, screw the rules, I'm going to put myself into fire against Rick because I need to take him out because he's such a big threat. Rick loses fire at Final 4, and it's a tearjerker. This is him winning immunity and playing his idols because he's such a big guy like that. Pros for him is that he did not really play the game all that much. He went out early, and then when he was playing the game, he was kind of just winning necklaces and playing idols. So when he plays strategically, people aren't going to know what to expect from him, and so he has a little bit of an extra cards up his sleeve that way. Cons for him is that finding idols is a huge threat in this game, and people are definitely going to be looking at him as a huge threat for the idol plays that he has. Alright, now we're in the new era. Jonathan is the absolute unit. He was on season 42, 4th place. He is known for a pre-merge challenge where it was meant for the whole tribe to like go through the water and like climb up this pole in the water to get some puzzle pieces with a ladder. But the water waves were ridiculously bad that day. And it was so bad that he had to carry the ladder by himself and then drag his partners, his tribe members, through the water because they could not swim through the water in order to finish the challenge. And then once they got off water, he did the rest of the challenge with like, at the end when you like throw bags to do something, he literally did the whole challenge by himself. And the other 2 tribes could not finish the challenge because the water was so bad. So Jeff, for the first time ever, had to stop the challenge. They got the puzzle pieces off the pole from the water and then told the other 2 tribes to do the rest of the challenge on the sand. He literally did the whole challenge by himself that the other 2 tribes couldn't finish. That's why he's here. He's remembered for that. He went all the way to the Final 4, lost in fire making. I don't know if he would have won though, because he even though he had a great physical game, he wasn't like the best socially or strategically. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't the best. He's just known for his amazing challenge performance. That's here on the left. You can see his person right here. Marianne is literally in the other tribe's lane. They're supposed to be in the far right lane, and she's been moved by the water all the way into another tribe's lane. She can't pull up. He's carrying the bladder by himself, and then he is literally dragging his people through the water in order to finish it. Pros for him is he's the most likely to make the merge out of pretty much anybody, because who's going to get rid of him for challenge strength? Like, he's decent in the individual immunities, but his strength is like the best thing you could use for team challenges. So who's going to get rid of him before the merge? Cons are, like with his first season, he has not been shown to be the best strategically and socially. He's fine, but he was just fine on his first season. Being fine on this season with a whole bunch of like the best of the best is, I don't know how well he's going to do. Well, we're going to have to see. Next, we have Emily, the financial analyst from season 45, 7th place. Emily's full name is Financial Analyst Emily Flippin. You have to include it in her because her whole thing is that she does finance, and she is logical, and she is blunt, and she is direct, and she tells you how it is. Financial Analyst Emily Flippin. She was on the most losing tribe of the new era. They were called Lulu, and everybody called them the Lulu Losers because they kept losing. And she would have gone home the very first tribal because she was so blunt and direct and nobody liked her, but then somebody quit. And then she would have gone home at the second tribal, but they'd already lost somebody, and there was somebody else who was just so bad at challenges that they had to get rid of that person too. And Emily, after being just like so unaware of how she was coming off and like not playing the good game well, after those first two boots and realizing she should have gone home but didn't, completely changes her game, gets in well socially, and she ends up being the last person from Lulu to survive like the disaster tribe. Kind of like Stephanie, but not really. She makes it to the merge, and then she has this underdog growth arc where like she connects with everybody, and she's showing herself to be like this huge threat to go on to win the game, but then she gets idled out of the game at 7th place after all of that character development. This is her on the left, just kind of like being drunk and like being more blunt than normal because she's just like having fun. And then on the right, it's her like finally winning a challenge and like being so happy because she's so used to losing. Pros for her is that she's on a starting tribe with Christian from David vs. Goliath. They know each other outside of the show, so that's going to be good for her to have that connection. The con for her is that she wants to come back and play like Emily 1.0. She was sad that the show was kind of made her out to be like, oh, I learned how to be softer and get along with people better. And she didn't like that ending. That's what she's coming back because she's like, no, I want to show people you can succeed without having to change yourself. And I don't know how well that's going to do for her. So we will have to see if Emily 1.0 can do well in Survivor 50. Next, we have Dee from Emily season 45, and she's the first winner on the list. She is the new era GOAT, greatest of all time. She is known for playing the best winning game of the new era in the past 10 seasons. She is very well considered to have played the best winning game. She's well-rounded. She's good at everything. She's good strategically, socially. She won 3 immunities. There's nothing she's not good at. She also is known for having big toes. That's just like a funny part where like before we really knew her gameplay, she had a whole part about like how her big toes are like twice as long as the rest of her toes, and it was really weird to look at. So that was just something funny about her. Here she is winning in the top left and then like dominating in the challenges in the bottom left, and then on the right is a montage of her saying, we have to get this person out, and then they go, this person out, and then they go, and so on and so forth. She very much dominated the game. Pros for her is she's the strongest woman on her tribe and is probably going to be needed for challenge strength to start the season off. The con for her is there are only 3 winners on this season, and there's going to be some anti-winner bias. She's going to be the only winner on her starting tribe. Every winner is going to be the only winner on their tribe. There's 1 winner per tribe. And, it's going to be a lot to overcome that. But if anybody could do it, the new era GOAT is the person who could. Next, we have Charlie, the Robbed God, Swiftie edition. Because the 2 other Robbed Goddesses, this one's the Swiftie. He was from season 46, and he was the runner-up. He is known for playing, again, one of the best losing games in the history of the show. I talked about how Aubrey's was the most controversial. Aubrey's is a little bit more controversial because it has, like, nostalgia for the fact that was 20 seasons ago. Charlie's was just 4 seasons ago, so it hasn't like sunk in yet, but he's by far the most controversial loser who should have won in recent memory for anybody who watches the show. He completely controlled the game all the way through with his number one ally, and then at the final six, his number one ally and him realized, oh, if we go to the end with each other, we might not win. We have to turn on each other in order to win. They both knew that they had to do that, and Charlie ended up being the one to win out, and then the ally turned the jury against Charlie, kind of claiming that Charlie did nothing, she did everything, and she didn't vote for Charlie, and Charlie lost by one vote. If his number one ally had voted for him, he goes on to win this season. And it's just devastating for him because he really did control the game, and he just got like bitter juried. He's also known for loving Taylor Swift. When he wasn't controlling the game, all of his content was about how he loved Taylor Swift. So that's what you know about Charlie. Great at the game and a Swiftie. This is him with his number one ally on the left when everything was going good, and this is him on the right when he found out he lost and that she didn't vote for him. Just devastating stuff. Pros for him is that he's on a starting tribe with Coach, who he also knows through his outside connection. Somebody else on his tribe from 46 is friends with Coach, and they met through him. So that's good for him. The cons for him is that people fear his dominant but behind-the-scenes gameplay. Like, there's anti-winner bias, but there's also bias for you almost could have won. Like, that's almost as bad. And for him, it's really bad because his was behind the scenes. And so instead of being in your face like other people, whenever he talks to people, people are going to be thinking, oh, but you did all of this behind the scenes in your first season. Are you playing me? I'm worried about people's perception of him. I'm also worried because there are 3 people from 46, so again, there's a threat of so many people back from one season. But again, like with D, if anybody could overcome the odds, I have faith in Charlie. Next we have Q, and this is my little Grinch. The next 3 people are going to have little Grinch things. He is the Grinch who canceled Christmas. He got 6th place on Charlie's season, and I say that because one of his biggest lines on the show was, you could cancel Christmas. He said that all the time whenever people would do something shocking. And also he was the Grinch of the season. Everybody was so caught up with Q being the absolute chaos of season 46, and he just would mess up everybody's plans. He truly was the Grinch on season 46. He was the smoke screen for every vote. Everybody wanted to vote him out because he was causing all of this mayhem and chaos. I call it QOS. And then they wouldn't vote for him, and he'd survive another round. He's also known for instigating the infamous Applebee's meltdown. She had a meltdown because Q didn't pick her for the reward, and when she was upset about it, he doubled down and was like, well, I'm not aligned with you, so what's the issue? And he's also known for going home with an idol in his pocket. That was a big thing on 46. A bunch of people went home with idols in his pocket. He did. This is him on the top left, big mistake. That's one of his sayings. On the right, Mo thinks she's going to set me up. Mo can cancel Christmas. On the left, get the Q skirt. He put a thing around his waist and called it the Q skirt. Just a big character. Definitely, I would say the biggest character of the new era. Just so much fun. Just lightning on TV. Good times. Pros for him is that he's very physically fit. People probably will want to keep him around for challenge strength. Cons are he's known for his chaos, the QOS. He's also known because with that chaos, he turned on his number one ally, who I'm going to be talking about next. So are people going to be able to trust him? Also con, he's on a starting tribe with Aubrey. I said before, Aubrey's on a starting tribe with Q, which is bad because he targeted somebody on his season for liking Aubrey and wanting to play like Aubrey. And so him and Aubrey being on the same season, I don't know how well they're going to work together. And then also 3 people from 46, that's a con. But I hope he makes it far. I absolutely love Q. He's TV gold. Next we have Tiffany, the Cindy Lou Who, with Christmas as well. The Grinch as well. I could say this because she is the most surprising Survivor 50 casting decision. I'm happy she's here. I absolutely love Tiffany, but she got 8th on her first season. That's the lowest out of everybody here. She was not the main character of her season. She was a good character. If they were doing just new era, she definitely would have made the cut, but I'm happy she's here, but most people are shocked she's here. She's definitely cast because of her relationship with Q. Her and Q were number one allies all the way through the first half of the game, but then when Q started going crazy with this chaos, he told everybody about Tiffany's idol, which turned the target on her, and then for the 2 more rounds that she was there, she was just fighting with Q every chance she got because she was so mad that he turned on her like that. She also went home with her idol in her pocket. She nicknamed her idol Idolicia. And yeah, that's she's here because her and Q are gonna have some relationship. They're actually friends now, so that's gonna be interesting to see if they could work together if they make it together. But yeah, here's a compilation of her. Bottom left, finding the idol. Top left, her finding out that Q told Charlie about the idol. Just a whole bunch of shenanigans. Bottom right is her yelling at Tribal about Q. Yeah, she's good. Pros for her is that she's definitely the smallest name coming in here, so she does not have a target on her back. I think that's going to be good because she could definitely squiggle her way through a lot of the target hunting that people are going to be doing. But similar to Angelina, I'm worried for her because it's going to be hard to find a winning scenario. If you're the smallest name coming in here for such a monumental season, you're going to have to play a hell of a game and have the correct people in the final three sitting next to you for people to give the smallest name the win. And also, three people from 46. That's going to be a target. Next, we have Genevieve, the heart that grew three sizes. Just like this is the end of my Grinch bit. She was fifth place on season 47, and she's known for controlling her pre merge tribe, and then because everybody trusted her the most, she had to turn on one of them, and one of them was her friend Keyshawn, and Keyshawn was so upset, so hurt that Genevieve voted him out, and she was like, "Why? We could have gone the whole way." And you could see how hurt Genevieve was that she hurt Keyshawn. And so for the rest of the game, she had a lot of control, but she no longer made friendships with people. She didn't want to make relationships with them. She just played the game like this cold-blooded assassin. And everybody feared her, but everybody worked with her because they didn't want her on her bad side. And she dominated a lot of the game until final seven, final six. She goes on a reward and she gets a letter from her family, and her dad tells her, "Oh, I hope you're having fun. I hope this is everything you dreamed it will be. I hope you make a lot of friends." And she just gets really upset and she starts crying, and that's when her heart grows because she realizes, here I am playing this game and I wanted to have all these friends leaving it, and I don't have any friends because I've been pushing them away. And it was just such a visceral, heartfelt moment of what Survivor can do about how you handle making real, true relationships, but having to play the game with them at the same time. Um, that's what she's known for. She went home in fifth place. Had she made it to final tribal, she definitely would have won. But she was just that robbed person right at the end. Not robbed, but oh, she was so close. This is her on the left, thinking about Keyshawn. That was a fun editing thing where she's just thinking about how she hurt him, and on the right, reading the letter about how she needs to make friends with people when she's out here. Pros for her is that she is the only person from 47 on this season. I think there's going to be a lot of targeting people because they have relationships in the new era. 46, 3 reps, 48, 3 reps, stuff like that. I think the target on her will be smaller because she doesn't have those connections, and so she could probably squiggle through. Con is that people fear how she played so much of that game like a cold-blooded assassin. I think people are not going to want to take the risk of playing with her, the new her, where she's playing more emotionally and relationship based and friendship wise. I think they're always going to be worried that she's gonna be that killer underneath. Next we have Kyle, the best average guy. He's the winner of season 48. He's known as describing himself as being good, but not too good at everything. He literally says he's the best average guy. Good at strategy, not too good. Good at social, not too good. Good at physical, not too good. And it obviously worked because he went on to win the season. On a season full of the most brochacho, honor and integrity kind of season. That's what season 48 was. He was the most average of them too, so he it really fits him well. He's known for his secret relationship with Camilla, who's also on the season. They dominated all the way to the final four, where Camilla went out in fire making. He put her in. Had Camilla made final tribal, she probably wins, but Kyle knew he had to take her out. They controlled the game together, and nobody knew it the whole way through. And he's also going to be known on the island as the person who just won. Season 48 was airing literally. They aired the finale a week and a half before they went out to film 50. So people will have just seen Kyle win before going out to film. This is him winning immunity, and then right before he put Camilla in fire, who's right to the right of him in this picture. Pros for him is that he's on the starting tribe with Q and with Aubrey, and that tribe is just going to be utter mayhem, utter chaos, and he is the best average guy. He's going to be stable amongst all of the just meltdowns that's going to be going on in that tribe. So people might want to work with him. But he's going to have extra anti-winner bias than the other winners because they just saw him win. Also, Three people from 48, that's a target on his back, and it's extra bad because he's there with Camilla, who was a secret alliance the whole way through, and Joe, who we also had a good alliance with. It's just a lot of like recency things in their mind is going to be working against Kyle on this season. But again, probably the best winner of the new era after D. So if anybody could maintain like all of the heat that's going to be on him, it could be him. Next, we have Camilla, the wing woman. Again, as I said, she was on Kyle's season and she placed fourth. She is known for that secret relationship with him, completely controlling the game all the way through, and she probably would have been the one to win had she made it to Final Tribal, but goes out in fire making. She's also known for just being very scrappy, very smart, very good at puzzles. That is her vibe. This is her in a top talking with Kyle in their secret relationship, and then is her losing fire in the bottom right and crying about it in the bottom left because, you know, she was so close and she just missed out on that win. Pros for her is that she's on a starting tribe with Coach. She wants to be Coach's number one and Coach be her number one, and so hopefully she can get that going and like make this really good alliance to start the game. Cons are also anti almost winner bias, kind of similar to Charlie, whereas like they just saw her almost win. They just saw the jury say she would have won had she made it Final Tribal. Going to be a lot of heat on her for that. And again, three people from 48, even worse for her because she has that secret relationship with Kyle. They're not going to want to keep both Kyle and her till the merge. One of them's got to go early, I think. Then we have Joe, last person from 48 here. He got third place, and he's just known for being the good guy. He's everybody's favorite. There's nobody doesn't like Joe. As opposed to Christian, who's the underdog, Joe is the overdog. He controlled the whole season from start to finish, but he did it with honor and integrity. He wanted to just be a good example for his kids. His number one alliance member was the first ever openly autistic Survivor contestant, Eva, and he had a great relationship with her where she had to confide in him because she might have a meltdown or an episode where the autism like makes her like very nervous and like shake, and he was the person to like help calm her down. And you know, so other people didn't know and underestimate her. She only told him, and he would help her when she had those episodes. And he was also out there on the island because his deceased sister was a Survivor superfan. She died from domestic violence, and he was playing the season in her name. This is him remembering his sister in the top left and doing all of it for her. This is a picture of him and his sister in the top right. In the bottom right, this is when the girl on the right, Eva, was having an episode and he was calming her down and just being there for her. And then on the bottom left, it's him being shocked that he lost to Kyle in the final tribal because he thought he played a good game. Which he did play a good game. I'm going to get to that. Pros for him is that opposed to Kyle and Camilla, who are going to have a lot of, you know, oh wow, they just won, and oh, they just almost won, and they remember that, they just saw Joe lose, and they just saw him play a game full of honor and integrity and honesty. And so I feel like pro for him is recency bias is going to help him because they're going to be like, yeah, let's work with Joe. He's he's going to be loyal to us and he won't win. Cons are he thought he won the game, but kind of like with Stephanie, I don't know how much honor and integrity alone without too much other strategy works in a new era is gonna if that's gonna be rewarded the win. That's how he played on 48, and he didn't win, and he just finished seeing it air. I don't think he's had enough time to really comprehend why he lost and like learn from those mistakes. So we'll see if he can learn in the quick turnaround for 50. And also con 3 people from 48. That's a target. And now we have the man, the myth, the legend, R-I-Z-G-O-D, Rizgod Baby. I don't need to go too much into him because you already know him. Earnest superfan, fake out idle plays, you know that. Pros for him is that nobody knows his game, but the con is that everybody has been saying the devil you know versus the devil you don't. Why work with the people that you don't know anything about his game? Again, maybe he could use that to his advantage because they don't know what to expect from him, but that's also like a big target on his back. Savannah, same thing. She's the hot Grim Reaper. She's known for tying the women's immunity record and being the first female winner that was a villainess in a really long time. Also known for mom and dad hating on her every chance they got, which was every episode, multiple times. She has the same thing as Rizzo, but even worse. Nobody knows her game, so that's a pro because she can play however she wants. But she's going to have an even bigger target on her back because they assume that one of the people out there is a winner because there's 3 tribes. They know that Dee and Kyle won. but they think there's going to be one winner per tribe, and Savannah is the winner who's on that other tribe, and they're going to assume that she won the game. And so the fact that she won the game and they don't know how she played, going to be a huge target on her coming in. We'll have to see if she can manage that. But yeah, that's it. That's everything. Sorry this went longer, but let me know if you want to know any more about anybody. And that was the Survivor 50 Crash Course.